Hi, good morning guys. I just thought I'd do a quick little video. I've just been on a phone call with our Turkish sales team, Gökhan, who runs our sales in Turkey. And he just an interesting thing that's come up a couple of times over the last few weeks. So I thought I'd do a short video on it. And it's about Detroit. And it's kind of like a stigma that Detroit has, and when anybody ever thinks of Detroit, they think of crime. You know, it's a really bad city, abandoned houses, all of these things. You know, I mean, there was a movie about it, Detroit, the movie. So I think there's definitely a stigma about Detroit, and Gökhan was asking me this morning. He said, "Mike, you know, what do I say to a client who said, you know, Gökhan, why do you sell in such a bad city like Detroit?" And you know, it's just strange how people can have this opinion of a city from things that went on a long time ago. And you know, if you look at what went on in Detroit, if you go back 10 years, I know the city really well. Spent a lot of time in the city, know the good, know the bad, and believe me, 10 years ago, Detroit was not a nice place to live. It was like a war zone, the place. Filed for bankruptcy, the federal government had to bail it out. But is Detroit a good investment now? I mean, we were selling houses in Detroit for $10,000 10 or 11 years ago that have in areas that potentially could be sold for $250 to $300 now. So all of those people that invested in Detroit 10 or 11 years ago, if they bought in the right neighborhoods, don't get me wrong, still down to location, they've done really well. And they could have potentially sold, made money and reinvested elsewhere. So I think Detroit now is a nice place to live. It's, you know, the federal government bailed them out. You have the likes of Dan Gilbert, who owns Quicken Loans, the bank. He has the largest portfolio of residential property in the whole of the US, who is now, by the way, investing in Cleveland. But he kind of, I think he rebuilt or quadrupled his personal wealth from 2 billion to 8 billion purely on investing in Detroit. So I just thought it was interesting. Again, it came up this morning. I think Detroit is still a great investment. I think potentially you're not going to see the same growth as what you've seen over the last, let's say, 8 or 10 years. But I think it's an established market. Of course, look for the right neighborhoods, look for the right locations. You've got the east and the west. You know, areas like Bagley, Warrendale on the west, East English Village, Ravendale. Good locations, good blocks, and the city have spent so much money on cleaning these areas up. So no, I think Detroit is a fabulous investment. We've been selling there now for coming up to 11 years. It was the first place we started 11 years ago, and we've sold, I think, close to 2,500 properties. And also, what makes it really great is I'd probably say we have the best management company out of all of the places that we work in Detroit, which is called Rondo. And we've worked with Rondo, again, for 10 or 11 years, but they've been working in the city for coming up to 40 years now. So I just think, give Detroit a chance, you know? They call it the comeback city for a reason. And it's certainly come back strong, good place to live, it's healthy. And I also think you have to look at, you know, expectations. And if you're paying $70,000 or $80,000 for a house, like, where can you buy a property for $70,000 or $80,000? So to be able to buy it in a decent neighborhood on a good block that can be managed well in a thriving city, then it's a great investment. It's certainly better than having your money sat in the bank or a building society. And Detroit now will give you anything between, let's say, 10 to 12%. So The message I think I'm trying to get across is give Detroit a chance, and don't just think of what you've heard about a city in the past. And just because you've heard bad things about it in the past, look at what's gone on in the city. And you get good and bad areas in any city, whether it's Newcastle in the UK, London, whether it's Philadelphia, California, New York. They've all got their good parts and bad parts. So I think give it a chance, do your research, do your homework. To me, Detroit is a fantastic investment. If you get the neighborhood right, the location right, condition of the property right, and of course the management as well, which we have fantastic management in Detroit. So I'll leave it with that. Give Detroit a chance. Gokin has gone back to his client, and I think you should send him this video, and you guys have a great day. All right, speak soon.